Hi everybody and welcome to this week's edition of Property Chat. Lots going on this week. We're going to start with some national news and then come on to some more local things, what's been going on right here in SW16 live from our offices. Stand by. Okay, we're starting with some national news. The first thing I want to talk about is the rental sector. I noticed a report from Arla Property Market this week, and this is an interesting one. This is about the demand for rental accommodation. In January, it reached a record high with an average of 88 applicants, that's tenants looking for property per branch right here in the UK. And the average stock levels have decreased dramatically as well. So demand going up and supply going down, it can only mean one thing, which is, if you've been watching these shows for a while, we've been saying for a while now, there is upward pressure on rents because landlords are leaving the sector due to the way it's being legislated. So massive challenges for the new housing minister and the new chancellor. It'd be really interesting to see what happens in the budget this year. I'll come on to some more information about our thoughts on the budget in the next edition or so. Going on to property prices. Property prices rebound back to 2007 level. This is across the whole of the UK. Of course, some areas like London have risen dramatically since then. Others have fallen. And generally, the latest news says that house prices in all major English cities have risen above pre-financial crisis peaks for the first time since 2007, according to Zoopla. Property in central London recovered to pre-crisis levels in just 2.3 years, the fastest of all UK cities. That's interesting, isn't it? London might fall hard, but it rebounds back quicker than the rest of the country due to the wealth there and employment, of course. More mortgages for older homeowners. This is an interesting one. There are more mortgages out there for you if you're a retiree looking for what they call an RIO, retirement interest only mortgage. This is where you may want to continue living where you live, but you can't afford to pay off the mortgage coming to the end of the term. There are now some very good options for retirees with rates that are not significantly different to open market. It says here that the average rate for those is 3.47%. Countrywide is an interesting one. Countrywide, which is behind brands including Bairstow Eves, Hamptons International, is in merger talks with LSL Property Services, which also owns some very large names such as Marsh & Parsons and Your Move. They're going to create the largest ever single estate agency business when combined. And they're both struggling groups, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think the time now is for the independent, not for the national. And these national groups getting bigger and bigger, make them more and more impersonal and less liked. But that's just a personal opinion. Now on to the more local property market news. This week, quieter than expected on sales, partly on the back of weather. I have to say, weather is a massive factor when it comes to whether people choose to view properties here in the UK, and we've had some really horrendous weather, and that does impact on particularly families with young children, but also first-time buyers and just the inclination to come out and view properties. It's one of the reasons why I think our video tours are proving very popular right now, is that people are literally logging on to their computers, and now we're doing the walk around videos. You can see some examples right here on this channel. You'll see more and more of those coming through, and these are pre-introduction videos. The reason we're doing it that way is so that you can get a flavour exactly what that instruction is like and whether you're interested in registering before it comes to market. This is before it's on Zoopla, before it's on Rightmove, before it's even on our website. So make sure you look at those videos if you are interested in buying either for investment or locally here in southwest London. Lettings department has been really busy, especially on the smaller units. That's the 1 and 2 bedroom units. And 3 bedrooms has been reasonable, but 1 and 2 bedroom units in very high demand and rents sadly increasing. Sorry tenants, but that's the problems we mentioned earlier. It's all about supply and demand, and right now we have a very small supply and a very large demand. Problem of the week. This is an interesting one. I had an old client of mine come in this week I've known for many years, and he came in with plans for an extension. He has a terraced house right here in SW16, and he wanted to extend out the back and up into the loft, and he really wanted to know exactly what the value add would be versus the cost of all these improvements. And when we ran the numbers back, what we found was that there was absolutely zero benefit in him actually doing these extensions. In other words, the extension was going to cost at least as much, but probably more than the value add. Why? What's the P word? Once you extend, especially with a terrace property, into the garden, into the loft, where's the P word? Potential, that is. People want something to do. They want to say, well, if I buy this house, I can do this, I can improve that. And these days, I think we're in what I call the Homes Under the Hammer generation. Many of you know that I'm a regular guest on Homes Under the Hammer, and you'll probably see me pop my head up now and again if you haven't before. But what I think it does is it creates a kind of false impression about how easy it is to do work. Because I'll go to a property which needs £150,000 worth of work. You'll see me in there for a couple of minutes talking about the local area, how the market is and how this property compares and what it would be worth when done. And then whoosh, up comes a new screen. Here we are coming back. What you don't see is the 6 months to 2 years in between and the £150,000 spent and all the stress and hassle for the client in the interim period. And quite often what we find is that there's really not much difference. So it's quite marginal between done and undone. So be very careful before you be a busy fool in property. Too many people are, and so often we go out to visit people after they've done works, and sadly the works they've done don't even equal the add-on of the cost. So, literally we're finding that the valuation is lower than the difference in the cost. So my advice to you is, before you do any extensions or improvements, speak to your local agent where you are. If you're in our area, certainly have a chat with us. We'll come out, have a look, and we can give you an idea of whether we think those are worthwhile investments. I have to say, having said all that, my first question to my clients when they ask this is, number one, who do you do this for? Who are you doing this for? If this is for your family and you would love a conservatory and you're going to be there for the next 10 to 15 years, fill your boots, enjoy yourself, It's not all about the money, it's about quality of life. And if you feel you'll get sufficient quality of life out of these improvements, you should make them, definitely, especially if you're staying long term. But if you're doing them for my benefit so that I can sell on to you for a profit, then that won't necessarily be a good thing. So we need to talk first. Hope you've enjoyed this edition of Property Chat. We'll see you same time next week. Take care.